eye not done, that the right eye was kind of yellowy, it was a yellow light, and the left eye was a blue light. So now I find things really, really bright. I can't say that, that the colors look all that different, but the brightness and the clarity, the sharpness is pretty amazing.
Well, congratulations.
I look forward to getting new glasses because the close-up is not, I'm almost looking out of the tops of the glasses, because what used to be good for close-up isn't good anymore. And then there's an in-between, some kind of in-between after the close-up, but between that and the distance, that is, So I can drive. We're pretty quiet today.
We're muted.
Yeah, a lot of people are muted. I just unmuted myself. Just so everyone knows, I've turned the session recording on.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. We'll just give it a few more moments as people are showing up at the moment.
Do you think it's going to be a real shock when we see each other in 3D after this is all over?
Will we know how to behave? Social interaction rules and all that.
Chris, can you give me maybe about 5 minutes tonight?
Sure, you'll be later on, David, but yeah, we've got quite a few people tonight, so we'll see how we get on.
All right.
Yeah. That should work. So we're at 25 people here. So that's good. Just let Barbara Lane know you'll be first this evening. So if you are ready to roll, we'll start with you in a few moments.
Okay, thanks.
Great.
And how do we share screen again?
And then we'll have Randy and Dawn second.
Is Dawn on? Oh,
Yes,
there you are. Hi.
He is there.
Well, we have to share.
I was muted there, but yeah, I'm here. Thanks.
There's just a lot of faces. I didn't see you right away.
It's nice to see all of you.
Maybe I'll just mention at this point too, I've been having some problems with some of the ports on my ancient desktop computer, and so I've plugged my camera into a different port, so hopefully it won't suddenly die on me in the middle of all this. But if I suddenly vanish, that may have happened. So far, so good this evening. Well, maybe we'll get started because it's just coming up 25-2. So welcome to the March 8th Astro Cafe. Good to see quite a number of people here this evening. I just wanted to let you know that we will be having a guest speaker, sort of like a monthly meeting in 2 weeks. We'll have Alandria Brunhez, who's the editor of Sky News, joining us, Sky News Magazine. So the other editor, not Bruce Lane. And so she'll be talking a little bit about Sky News Magazine and what's happening there. So if you have questions and things you'd like to know more about, that will be the time to ask. So I'll just mention, so that is our March 22nd session will be that. Great. So we've had, as some of you may have heard me say, we've had a number of people ask to say some things tonight. So we'll, I think we'll get started right away. So first we have Barbara Lane, who is going to show us a video, I believe. So
Yep.
Barbara, if you're ready.
I've got 37 seconds of a meteorite over Gloucestershire this week. So
Let's see if that works.
can you see that now? The screen?
Yeah, your screen is there.
Okay, let's. It's just a compilation of people's videos of it. Come on.
Internet.
Worked fine earlier.
Of course it did. Nobody else was watching it. Shy internet.
Bandwidth.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's easy to get off versus Zoom. I'll tell you why you're interested in Cheltenham.
I'm
Oh,
amazed
it's
how they
just-
studied these before we had cameras everywhere.
Yeah,
Let's try backing it up.
Okay.
Run at it here.
no, it's not working. Well, it figures. Anyway, people got some pretty spectacular shots. They haven't found any fragments yet. My sister lives there, so I tried to send her out, but they're in lockdown. So
Right.
Barb,
So
could
she didn't
you,
see it in person.
no, she was asleep.
Barb, could you cut out the URL and paste it into the chat for us?
Sure.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Then people can go and look
Yeah.
at it too, because it looks pretty neat. Oh yeah, look at that. Was a nice
Yeah.
one.
Where is it in there?
It will come in.
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Even with
okay.
that bright light there. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, a very unfortunate position of the light.
Wow. Yeah, it was a bright one.
Yeah, they really did. And they do think there will be fragments, but nobody's found them yet.
Cool.
Or the
Okay.
Seismologists can often see where they are just from the
Oh, right.
ground shaking.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've been doing some modeling of it. Oh.
Okay.
You copied, honey.
I did.
You copied. Put it in chat.
Okay, I'll do
Okay,
that. Let's
stop the share.
and do
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
All right.
Well, thank you very much. That's neat. And yeah, if you can post that in the chat, if you haven't already, that would be great.
Sure, well, anyway.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Okay, Randy and Dawn,
Okay.
you are up.
So Don put this image on the Facebook a few days
Facebook's a
ago.
dangerous thing.
And
Wow. Yeah.
it's gone completely viral. And in fact, there were 3 different images from around Great Britain last week. I don't know why this week, because it's not actually that rare. And, you know, there's all this stuff saying how it's just amazing. It all happened at the same time. And anyway, the thing is, it struck me as strange because I think a lot of us have seen this, the mirage that you get when you have the very still warm air on top of the cold air. You get that inversion. And so Don, this picture, he said, you see it here. Well, it's different. You see how you have the ship on the water, and then you have another one up higher. And then,
I have one more.
yeah, and then there's this one here.
And if you look at to the right, it's a little better on the right-hand side there.
Yeah. And then I posted some of my pictures.
But you're not done with the cell phone.
Not done with the cell phone, no. And this is what you get. It's right side up, and then it's upside down, and then it's right side up again. And this time, so I live close to Clover Point, which you may know is, I don't know, it's probably about 30 meters above the surface of the water. And I walked down the hill taking pictures going down. And so what's really clear is this, what's it called? Hagen Lloyd. Here you see it right side up. Here you see it's kind of stretched. And here it's all squished, but in the middle one here, you can actually see it's right side up, upside down, right side up, which I think is just really cool. Anyway, and this was another time that black layer here, that little black layer here, turned into this big black layer here just by going up and down. I am very keen if anybody else does this sort of experiment, but I just want to say that Don said, okay, the challenge is on. I'm sure I've seen a completely isolated ship, but I don't have a photo of it. So that's the challenge to everybody. Do you have a picture that looks more like this? But I don't think this is a fake. I mean, I know it's not a fake. It comes from a video, and I've got a couple of other things to talk about it. But Don, do you want to talk about it first before I go on?
Yeah, only that this has been seen in many places in the world. I think it's called Castles in the Air, and it's called Fata Morgana. I'm probably mispronouncing that, but it's seen over Lake Geneva commonly, and which makes some of the castles on the opposite shore seem like they're floating. And but you know, I've done the very similar thing to you, Randy, and it might have even been near Clover Point, where walking down the hill you can see how it changes appearance. It's really cool. So but you have to be kind of within that layer, like within about 50 or 100 feet or something.
Yeah, I took, hold on, what's going on here? That's not what I want. Escape.
And no photoshopping, anybody?
No. Yeah, I want to do this.
I have to say, I didn't know it would lead to this when I said the challenge is on. I was kind of saying that kind of jokingly, but obviously if anybody can get an image, that'd be fantastic.
Now, I'm trying to change the screen. How come it's not doing that? Oh, let's just go through here on this. I'm making a mistake with my... Anyway, I did some photo manipulation, and you can see with this one, what I think is happening is it's windy close by, and then the sea gets a bit calmer. And so it's still sitting on the water, but it looks like it's a false horizon just because the clouds behind look just like the sea here. But I think that is just one flat sea, but it's just a bit more rippled up close, and then it got smooth out there.
Randy, having grown up near Campbell River, I've seen that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Because you get the glassy ocean, and then you have a local wind that just turns everything dark blue in the foreground. And
I think that's what
I could go through my old Kodachromes that are 40 years old and probably find a number of things similar to that.
Now this one might be a fake. I mean, how do you get this much depth of range? It isn't a long exposure, but because you see the what do you call it? The foam up here, but this is all perfectly in focus, and those guys are in focus. What do you think, David Lee? Is that possible?
Have to have a closer look at it. You can kind of pixel in and see.
Yeah.
Look at the edges.
Anyway, when I worked on the envelope of this one, then it really doesn't look like the ships are hovering.
Mm.
This one is trickier. It really does. I mean, there is a thing called lofting, which comes from the bending of the rays. And I think you can see that there is a layer there. But this one's a harder one to explain. But this one actually is a still from a video, and there's no way that he faked it. It's just, what is it that we're looking at? And I don't think it is the Fata Morgana. I don't think it is a superior mirage. What I think it really is that you can't tell the horizon, and there's a false horizon, which is just coming from what Brock was saying, that you've got the wind close to the shore and it gets smooth further out.
Randy, I wonder how much of the ship is actually missing here. The bottom part of it, right? That's not the whole ship, right?
Well, yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
what that, I think that is the ship close to the horizon.
No, it's all wonky. It's not all there.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Pieces are missing, I think,
Yeah.
maybe.
Could just be sitting low, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But the horizon is really interesting.
Oh, there, that's how I do it. I'm going to stop the share now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm fascinated by these. Of course, it's not astronomical, but there's an important astronomical issue with it. Is every time we take pictures of the sunset or the moonrise, you're always dealing with going through that layer at the low horizon, and there's lots of weird things that happen there.
Yeah, you often see when the moon rises, you often see it. I've seen it a couple of times where it actually splits in two. So you see the upper part of the moon and then the lower part of the moon with a gap, big gap in between.
And I think Malcolm correctly called this an unidentified floating object. So it's, it's not gravitational lensing.
No.
Pretty sure about that. Yeah, seeing some astronomical examples with a low moon or something would be really cool as well. Yeah. So, anyways, now Randy, does there tend to be a seasonality to it? I always thought you could see it more often in August, maybe when you get cold.
Yeah, my understanding
lumps of it.
is a hot day with no wind.
So you get
That's when I've seen it. Out in Machosen from Taylor Beach, it'll be like looking across to just east of, say, Port Angeles. And it'll be like the shoreline is stretched. It would be several kilometers and look, and like these tall cliffs. And I got into an argument with a friend once. I'm saying, that's not real. We're seeing the beach over there stretched up into the sky because it was like a curtain or, the cliffs of Dover kind of effect for many kilometers. And what's the distance across there? 30 to 40 kilometers. And they appeared a huge distance up in the sky.
So this is kind of what I understand is happening.
That's what I thought it was.
So
it's like a lensing.
The amount of bending is related to how rapid the temperature changes with height. So when you have a very, very tight change from the warm air above to the cold air below, then, pretend this is the bottom and the top of a ship. So when you look at the one that is lower, it's kind of a straight line. But then when your eye is going through that boundary layer, then you see that the bottom of the ship is bent a lot and the top of the ship is not bent as much. And so it goes upside down. And that's just because you get more bending because the temperature gradient, that change in temperature with height, is higher above than below. But then it eventually has to calm down. So it's pretty constant. Then it starts warming up rapidly, and that's where you get it upside down. And then it warms up more slowly, and then you get it right side up again. So that's the up, down, up.
It could also be an inverse mirage effect, like where there's a shift where you're actually seeing a reflection from the actual off the sort of like total internal reflection between the big change in refractive indices of the cold hot boundary just above the surface of the water. Kind of an inverse mirage.
Yeah, that's called an inferior mirage, and this one is the
Okay.
superior mirage.
Okay.
Probably the most spectacular horizon one that I've seen is the green flash. And
Have you actually seen that?
And I've seen it twice.
Oh, lucky you.
The last one was in Hawaii, and not only did we see the green flash, but immediately after the green flash, a humpback whale breached right in the same line of sight.
Wow. Wow.
Just spectacular.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. So hopefully you can get a photo of it to show us. It'd be great.
Something else to look for.
Or just
Other
a
targets.
neighboring ship, which is the other thing that we're interested in.
Yeah. Okay, Reg, you had something you wanted to share this evening.
Sure. Okay. First of all, Randy, that temperature profile that you showed with the optical diagram in over 1 to Fuca Strait during the late afternoon, quite often we'll have a very strong westerly inflow of a slab of very cold marine air that comes in and is driven by intense heating in the interior of the province and gives us a very strong westerly winds that can often disrupt our star parties at Machosen. And the variation in temperature is very abrupt at a certain level. And it can change over a very short period of time of depth, probably 10 degrees Celsius as this cold air comes in there. And that can do a lot of powerful optical effect. So
Over how many meters of height?
I can't say right now, but I would say it would be probably in the neighborhood of probably maybe 100 or 200 meters, something like that. It's very, very abrupt from an atmospheric point of view. So, and this occurs with great regularity. So you'll have a great time out on Dallas Road trying to capture these things.
I've mountain biked down Mount Quimper and experienced it. It's actually tighter. It's within probably dozens of meters. You go from warm to cold, and it's quite bracing. It doesn't take long.
Okay. So Chris, could I just share the screen for a moment? Well, quite a while here. So
yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. What I'll do is get rid of this. Okay, what happened was that I had a look at the Sky and Telescope page for this week, and they had a thing called a map of a stellar explosion. And this caused me to revisit a very similar thing that I experienced, and in 2017 I went down a rabbit hole studying this in quite detail, and I wrote an article for it in Sky News when I was the editor there. And to get to Sky News, you just click on our webpage, you just click on news, and you can go to Sky News. And this is, and it will select all sorts of different options. You just select the May 2017 issue. And this is what you get. A beautiful image taken by Dan Posey of the Orion Nebula. So M42 here, M43 there. And this little cluster of stars here are the trapezium, which is kind of the light bulb that illuminates all of the gas in that complex. And the star of the show is the ALMA array, which is 66 dishes that is located at the 18,000 foot level in the plateau in northern Chile. And so what I'll do is just briefly go through this. I call it Orion Unveiled because through different wavelengths you can see more detail because through the visual wavelengths a lot of the dust and gases are obscuring things that are underneath it. And I put in this composite picture. This top one is Dan's picture, and there's an infrared image from the European Southern Observatory Very Large Telescope below it. And even with that infrared image, you can see quite a different world by comparing these two. But what happened is that in 2008, they put up a device called the Atacama Pathfinder, and it was a single dish that mimicked where they were testing it for as the suitable instrument to put in the 66 different dishes up in the Atacama area. And what they did was they took an image with that using the millimeter wavelengths, and instead of looking at the typical starlight that we are doing, they're looking at the intensity of molecules. And in particular, this is of the carbon monoxide molecule. And you can see the small stars of the trapezium there. And you can see a big, strong signal that they are picking up here. And this was named after 4 different people that called the BN or KL region. And this is in 2008. When you throw in more 60 odd dishes there and use all of the magical interferometry, what you get now is this. This is what came out in 2017. This thing clearly showed an explosion. And if you look at the stars of the trapezium and you go up one star, 2 stars, and jog to the left, that's the center of this explosion, which they can measure the radial velocities, and it all goes back to an explosion that took place about 500 years ago. And if you compare that and go up, and this is Dan Posey's picture, and you jump 1, 2, and 3, visually you don't see anything there, and it just shows the tremendous power of the technology we have with this brilliant ALMA array. Well, they hunted around, and this was the only one they saw like that. But just recently, they found another object, which was quite different, but in the same way. And that's what got me quite excited today when I saw this. And what I'm going to do is roll down here. It's a cosmic explosion. Is there some debate as actually what's causing it, but I won't get hung up on that because it's still an ongoing debate. But I just wanted to show you this. This is pictures taken by ALMA of various streamers coming out of the center of this thing. And they estimated that this explosion occurred similar time frame around 500 years ago or something like that. And it's really quite interesting. And I just say that this is the second one that they've actually captured in this way. And what we have there is a device. I'll just go to the main paper from this. Isn't that great? You can just click on a paper and you get the actual research paper that was actually published in 2020 in October. And they call this thing G 5.89 with ALMA. And they go into more gory detail about the explosion and the kinematics here of the various things. And one thing that was interesting is that the farther out you go, the faster the objects are moving, which kind of makes sense that the faster stuff would go a longer distance after some sort of event. The other thing is that there are 2 stars here associated with it. And they're moving apart, which is an indication that there might have been an interaction between the 2 stars, but it's still fairly early days and there's a lot of speculation with it. I just wanted to say something here is that they found that there was a very high velocity outflow from this thing, and we're talking over 100 kilometers a second in the expansion of this thing. So it's really good. And they called this thing stellar object G 5.89 minus 0.39. And I thought, well, what's a weird name? And I dug into it, and the G indicates that it's galactic coordinates. So in our solar system here, it's probably pretty small, but if we have the sun here in the center of our galaxy here, the galactic coordinate system that they're using here, there might be a couple of different ones, but the ones employed goes from the sun to the center of the galaxy, and it goes right through a thing called Sag star, the big black hole at the middle of our galaxy. And they measure, looking down from the north, they measure to the left, and it's the same sort of configuration we use with right ascension, kind of increasing angle going to the left using a right-hand rule, and the inclination is plus above the galactic plane. So having said that, what we have here with this system is the longitude is 5.89 degrees. A longitude of 5 means that it's very close to the galactic center, and a latitude of minus 3.9, I think it was, indicates that it's 0.39, indicates it's very close to the galactic plane. So I'll give you a bit of a hint. And what you can do, if I go back here, they give you the nice spherical trigonometry to do the conversion between the galactic and the regular declination and right ascension. But you can just be really easy and go to this calculator. Just there's all sorts of wonderful calculators. So I just plugged in the longitude here and the latitude there and said go, and out I popped. It was a longitude of 18 hours 30 seconds and a declination of minus 24. And where that is if you go to our Zenfolio and you dial up Charles Banville's beautiful picture of the lagoon and the Trifid Nebula, there's a star here called Sagittary 4. The actual object is down here, and it's very close to the lagoon, but don't bother cranking out your scope to try and look at it. This is a type of a feature called a UCH2 region, which is an ultra compact hydrogen 2 region, and it's associated with very densely packed molecules and dust surrounding a new star that is just forming. And it is so dense that the normal light cannot get out of it. It's just the infrared and the molecular wavelengths, the longer molecular wavelengths can escape from this. And so it's called an ultra compact H2 region. And these are a keen area of study because the energies are so intense with these things that the velocities and that it's really an interesting way of studying the formation of stars. And so we've seen 2 of these explosions with ALMA now. I don't think it's going to be too long before we find some more as well. So what a great time to be involved in astronomy, and I'm going to stop the share there. So back to you.
Great. Well, thanks, Reg. Any questions?
All I can say is I took notes. I'm going to have to get back to you.
Yeah, a lot going on there. Okay, Bill, you had attended a national council meeting, and you were going to bring us some updates from that.
Yeah, sure. Some of them I'll save until the council meeting tomorrow. There was recognition that it's International Women's Day today. So to the women out there, happy International Women's Day. I won't be like Burger King and tell you it's women's places in the kitchen, which is what they tweeted out today. That got them lots of discussion. I don't think one of the things that was brought up, and I don't think it's happened here. Have you guys, this meeting is sort of a closed meeting, is it? Like you have to be invited, right? You ever had any problem with like Zoom bombing or anything like that? I think a lot of the centers.
That's why we only send the URL out to our email
Yeah,
list.
that's what I thought. They put them on their Facebook pages and all that. And
we don't put ours on social media at all.
Are we allowed to invite people if we think they're safe?
Sure.
Because I went to that guy's house the other day to help him with his telescope. And he's just a nice guy that, you know, like decided to get into the hobby too late before early Alzheimer's started attacking him. I think we got there. I'm trying to convince him that he should join because we had him at our beginners group and he really enjoyed it.
Oh, I hadn't heard any comments, Bill. That's good to know though.
Yeah, he really, like his wife said that he really enjoyed it. And I said, well, you should join us because then you can every Monday tune in and just, you know, sit there and be part of a group. And so I guess they haven't done that yet because his wife said, well, what do I have to do? You go to the national site and pay your $80 or whatever it is. And then tell Chris you want to be.
Bill, is that guy that you're helping named Greg?
His name is Greg.
Condon.
I can't remember his last
name.
Yeah,
that's right, Pedro.
Well, I reached out to him too and sent him some pointers on how to set up the telescope.
Oh, good.
Yes. His biggest problem, because it came with a red dot finder, is the red dot finder does not work.
Oh, I see.
his red dot, so he couldn't figure out how to point it because from looking at the manual and playing with this thing, the Celestron setup seems to be pretty foolproof. If he puts in his location and time and date, all he really has to do is point it at 3 stars. And I brought up Stellarium on my iPad and we sort of did fake stars. I said, well, try pointing it there and there and there. And we were far enough off that it said, I can't do that. And so then I set it to, because Venus is right by the sun right now, I believe. So it could do it on a planetary alignment. And so because we couldn't really see the sun because we were inside his house, I could tell sort of where it was and then told it that was Venus. And then we just had, I said, okay, tell it to do this one or that one. And the scope sort of pointed in the right direction. So I believe that really for somebody who doesn't know what to do, it's actually a good setup for him because I said, really, you just put in your date, you know where you are, you know the time, you know the day, then just point it at 3 bright stars in different parts of the sky that you can see. But so I went out and found a pen in my car and took it all apart. So it was just the tube. And it was actually great because it was a pen I picked up at the GA in Edmonton. So it was from All Star Telescopes. So it's an All Star Telescope pen tube tied duct tape to his finder. So he can, well, you can sight down the straw on a star and then center it in the eyepiece and good to go. So until he can get a new red dot, I think he can get
basically a bore sight.
Yeah, that's all. That's I told him. This is all you really need, and you actually don't need anything more. But the dot would be better. So hopefully they can get a new one from Celestron because it came busted. You know, I tried new batteries. It isn't working. So yeah, I was thinking of next Monday if he hasn't. I'm gonna contact him because it's supposed to be clear coming up this week, so I hope he can get and try. But anyway.
That's good news, Bill. I was going to send him some book resources. I wasn't sure how he was doing.
Well, I had a spare Explore the Universe I took to him.
Excellent.
And I have a really old copy of Night Watch, but the basics with them, with the maps and stuff in there, that's enough for him right now. He doesn't need to be overwhelmed. It was overwhelming for him, but it was nice to meet him. He's a good guy.
Is he in Cadbro Bay?
Pardon?
Is he near Cadbro Bay?
He's very close. He's about a block down towards south from the elementary school senior center.
Because I saw an ad in News Victoria for asking for help with a telescope, and on the map it showed it was in Cadbro Bay.
Yes.
I debated contacting them, but I was kind of busy.
Yeah.
So, Bill, just
yes.
A little bit of history from the past years of Astronomy Cafe that goes to the question you asked about whether people who aren't members can come. Way back from the very beginning of Astronomy Cafe, we always were open to anyone who heard about us coming, whether they were a member or not. In fact, quite a few people became members as a result of coming to the cafe first.
Like me.
And some of the vendors of telescopes in the local area used to send people who bought a telescope to us to get help getting started, so that they wouldn't just buy something and then not know how to use it. And we never turned anyone away that wasn't a member. Having said that, Joe is correct. We also never used social media or anything else to sort of go out and enlist a lot of people from outside. But if they heard about us and wanted to come and find out what was going on, that was great. And I think it should stay that way.
Yeah, the beginners group has sort of taken that attitude. As long as you give us a valid email address, we're okay with that. I think the important thing is just not to make it public. But if people contact us by email and let us see a legitimate email address, that's probably fine.
Yeah.
Quick question: the link that's sent out in the email each week, is that a unique email? Like, for instance, could an email or a link from previous weeks be renewed at some later date or reused at some later date?
We can do it either way, but we do create a new link each week for security reasons, so we don't get bombed.
So it would be possible then, even just to forward the email to somebody, and if everything went awry, it would just simply be the 1 week that was disrupted rather than following weeks.
But I would just send him a copy of the link and not the whole email.
Yes.
Because then he's in our list, right? So anyway, so at the meeting, there was already lots of talk about people planning for the upcoming 2024 eclipse, of any groups, what they're doing. I don't think we really see much of it from here, do we? It's like only about 19% covered, so it would be a small one. There was lots of talk about the NOVA program, and that I can't find it on the national website anymore, because it came out of Prince George and their website seems to be dead, so I couldn't even get a link to them.
Bill, there seems to be a reference to it from the Calgary group.
Yes,
maybe they modified it, or
every group seems to have modified it, because there's so I just thought maybe for the SIG we could actually try. I was going to try and find what their basic for their program is.
Prince George's website was hacked a couple of years ago, so I'm not sure whether it's been entirely reconstituted. But
yeah, on the link off the website shows a dead site, so there's nothing there. So I'll try. They're probably all on Facebook or something like that. The GA is coming up the last week of June, last weekend in June. There's still sorting things out about what will go on, but it looks like it'll be almost a 3-day event. It'll be put on by National, and they're looking for somebody to do the next year. They're auditioning for people to join the board because there's some positions coming up. So if anybody feels they'd like to get into a high level, you should talk to Chris Gaynor and see what he has to say about it. You can't just sort of jump in and go. They're looking for people with skill sets for helping them do things. There's talk about the youth committee, which brought up the question, how many really young people do we have in our group? Do you know, Chris first?
Yeah, we don't have too many, probably fewer than 5, I would think. Certainly, you know, we have, well, maybe I won't say names, but there's a family where there's brother and sister who are members. Right. And then there's another young fellow who's been a member on a couple of different times and has participated in the Saturday Star Parties and things like that, brought equipment. So there's 3, and I think there's at least 1 other youth member in the membership list, but I don't know how old that person is. So we have 2 quite young people and 1 who's kind of middle school, maybe first year of high school kind of age.
Yes.
I know of.
Because, yeah, I've met 1 at Astronomy Day, and then there's our 1 who's prominent around here and may even be on tonight somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't know if I see him
I
here.
haven't seen him today. No.
Yeah. But it would be good to let them know about, there's like this youth committee out there that's trying to congeal itself around the younger people within it. Goes up to sort of the early university ages and the mid-university ages, but they're trying to, they're more on Instagram. They're the next gen. And they're pushing, they've got some scholarships. I think you might have noticed I sent out information on that. So Phil Groff, he did a bit of an update from actually the director. The memberships have been relatively stable. They dropped, but they've come back up a bit. We should probably finish the year in the black. The new website that they keep saying will be up and running is actually in beta testing, and at the council meeting yesterday, they asked for a few more people to help beta test it. I didn't answer because all I'd be, well, it could be good because all I'm running off is an iPad in my life. But it should be ready by the end of March. That's what they keep saying. So that will be, I don't know if it'll affect our listserv or not, if you're on the national listserv. It should be pretty seamless.
Yeah, that will, it will change the, our personal interactions with our own accounts. So there'll be a new system for logging in and out there.
Because you've done some training already, haven't you?
Yes, not a lot, but some, yeah. And then it's going to, there's a bunch of new infrastructure that centers can make use of, but we really have our own going now. So I don't think we'll change over and use any of that because we've got our Gmail system that we're using, so that, you know, we send out the Sky News list, and we could move that to national, but I don't see really any reason to do that.
No. And there's a training session coming up on March 22nd, they said. Is that one you'd be going to, Chris?
Maybe, I haven't heard about it yet.
They said it was going to be taped, so that people would be able to access it if they really needed to.
There's some beta testing going on now. I made my first attempt to get into it, and it was not successful. So they're learning lessons from me already.
Yeah, and when I went to log into the national site the other day, it seemed to look funny for a second. It didn't look normal, and then it didn't recognize my password, and it kicked me out. So maybe I kind of got linked to the fake site that they have running right now for the beta testing.
Yeah, I don't know. It's I couldn't even get in because it was asking me for different things than the old website did to get into it.
Yeah, because I tried to log in, and the thing that came up for the login looked all different, and then it didn't recognize me. It says, we don't know who you are. And
Yeah.
so then I turned it all off and went in again, and then it looked like the normal website. So I think there was, you know, like any new programs, there will be glitches. So
Yeah, one of the problems they're facing, of course, is it's a completely new system. So they're trying to grab the data out of the current system and move it into this new one, and it doesn't always quite match, I guess. And
yeah,
so, if anybody's ever done a data conversion, you'll know what I'm talking
Some of
about.
the old data and the old links and things desperately need to be updated. And but I think the idea is that they're asking a bunch of people for us to commit every torture we can on the new system, so that some of the bugs that you might find if you just here it is, let's go, have been found by us. So didn't take me very long. I just
and actually that's pretty much it. The rest of the stuff is stuff I wanted to just ask at the things to bring up at the council meeting. That's tomorrow, I believe.
Yep.
So that's really all I have to say, unless people have questions.
Any questions for Bill?
Thank you for representing us.
and Sherry was there too.
Yeah, Sherry was there, and so was Chris, and so was Lori from their position.
That's right.
So Victoria is actually well represented at those meetings. There's lots of ears. So that's all I got to say.
So just a reminder to the general membership, and well, it's a good time to say it now, that Bill and Sherry represent us to the national organization. So if you do have comments and things you want to, or things you want to know, they're your contact people. So thanks again, Bill. That was great.
And it's nice to be a larger group than where we have two people. That's really awesome that we're kind of in that category, that we can have two people represent us.
Yeah. Well, thanks again. Okay, Marjie, you wanted to share something?
Yes, may I share the screen?
You may.
There we go. Ah! Where did it go?
Yeah, I think by closing that, it stopped sharing. So have to try again.
There we go. I get rid of this. Oh, for Pete's sake. I'm trying to get rid of the gallery and I'm not doing very well here. All right, can you see the gallery on the side?
Yep.
I think we're seeing our own, but
No, everyone sets it up differently. Don't worry about it.
yeah. Oh yeah, just
Marjie.
show. Yeah.
We see your presentation.
I'd like it not to be there, but it's on mine. Okay. All right. NASA's Perseverance rover landing location has a name. Oh, isn't that brilliant? It's called the Octavia E. Butler Landing. And you can see Jezero crater, and that's how you say it, Jezero. It's a Croatian word that means lake.
Ah.
And this image is from the high-rise camera aboard NASA's Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter. So that's the location of the landing. So who was Octavia E. Butler. Octavia E. Butler was born in the same year I was, 1947, and she lived until 2006. She was an American science fiction author who won over a dozen awards for her writing, and in 2010 was inducted into the Science Fiction Hall of Fame. A mountain on Pluto's, is it Sharon or Karen? Moon, anyway, Pluto's moon is named Butler Mons. An asteroid 7052 discovered at Palomar Observatory is named Octavia Butler. Now I need to get rid of this darn screen. There we go. Yay, okay. Octavia Butler was born in Pasadena, California. Her parents were a housemaid and a shoeshine man. Butler was paralyzingly shy as a child and often bullied, so she passed her time reading at the Pasadena Library. She began writing fiction as a teenager. She is known for her patternist novel series, for the novel Kindred, the Exogenesis trilogy, the Parable series, the novel Fledglings, and many short stories. Her stories often replay humanity's domination of the weak by the strong. Butler's stories focus on disenfranchised characters, illustrating both the historical exploitation of minorities and how the resolve of one such exploited individual may bring on critical change. Reading science fiction at a young age, Butler quickly became disenchanted by the genre's unimaginative portrayal of ethnicity and class, as well as by its lack of noteworthy female protagonists. She determined to correct those gaps. Her stories, therefore, are usually written from the perspective of a marginalized Black woman whose difference from the dominant agents increases her potential for reconfiguring the future of her society. One of her stories was adapted as an opera, one as a graphic novel. The novel Dawn is currently being adapted for television, and another novel for a TV series to be shown on Amazon Prime. 2 scholarships have been established in her name, and now her name is given to the 2021 Perseverance rover landing spot on the planet Mars. Oh, excuse me. Oh. And my last page is not happening.
Yeah, that's odd.
There it is. Yet another wonderful woman to celebrate this March 8th, International Women's Day.
Thank you, Margie.
Yeah, that's really neat.
What a neat story for Women's Day. That was good.
Yeah. Yeah, well, thank you for bringing that to our attention, because I hadn't seen that news either. So that's really neat.
And anyone who appreciates science fiction or likes science fiction would really like Butler's work. I've read several of her novels, and they're all very good.
Okay, well, no Monday night would be complete without photos from Edmonton. And Dave sent a couple there. I'll see if I can get them to appear. Let me see. Okay, of course it would do that. Yeah. Where are we here? Okay, so should I do the owl one first, I guess? So I'll see if I can share this. And let's just do that. I'm going to just share the screen, I think. Well, maybe I'll do this one. Okay. So this is from Warren. Maybe you could tell us a bit about it, Dave. And this is the photograph that you had shared. This is a nice sculpture, I believe, with the full moon.
Yes, Warren is a longtime observer with the group in Edmonton. He's written a book on Herschel objects. He's quite an interesting fellow. This is a shot he's taken out east of Edmonton. This is an ice sculpture that he had carved himself out of lake ice. And he took this picture in 27th of February, when it was darn cold out there. He's become quite well known in Edmonton for his landscape photography, astronomically objects.
Well, that's a neat one. That would be a good one for Enkin's moon, don't you think, Randy?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. But also, I'm impressed that they're both in focus.
Yeah, he's done a beautiful job on that.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just going to stop the share and switch to the other one that you sent us. I think that's probably about as good as it's going to get there. So
this is Arnold Rivera with his magical Schmidt camera. I think I attached some of the information that you can, if you want to check it out. I think if we can post that to the website, it'll tell you what the information is with the camera. It's an 8-inch Schmidt camera, basically, with a couple of filters and stuff. And he's just going to start taking photographs of the more well-known galaxies that he can usually catch early in the morning, I guess you could call it. This one was captured on Saturday night, I guess, from Blackfoot, which is the observing site that's just around Elk Island Park, east of Edmonton. Apparently, they had a really good turnout of observers and imagers, and they went till like 2 or 3 in the morning until the moon started coming up. And I would expect we're going to see a few more decent images come out of that session.
And what was the temperature?
They didn't say. It's actually not been bad the last little while.
Yeah, so I just put in some of the information. Yeah, he didn't say what it was, but it's in the chat there. And yeah, that was just yesterday, I guess. Yeah. Very neat photographs. Thank you for sharing those with us, Dave. And David Lee, you had some things you wanted to share with us or say?
Yeah, I have a few things. First of all, just an update on the SIGs. Jim, do you want to maybe tell us about starting up the Makers SIG?
Well, after a little bit of prompting and reassurance there from David, thank you, I decided to go ahead on the third Thursday evening of each month. And anybody who's interested in any sort of building or project for accessories, or whether it's optics, mechanics, or electronics, is more than welcome to come and join in. I'll come up with a message, an email message that has a little bit more information and also a date and time, and hopefully a link for the Zoom meeting as well. What I'm hoping to do is to just create a knowledge bank so that we get to know who is interested in doing what and who knows how to do what. And so if you do have a question or you do have a dilemma that comes up, there will be at least some idea of who we can contact and see if we can come up with a resolution. So that's about all I've got to say for that.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks very much, Jim. I think we should be able to have one on March 18th, so it's just coming up next week, and I'll certainly be there. And I think Chris, you said that you were interested as well.
I am. Yeah.
Yeah. Me. So yeah, and Randy as well. Okay, so maybe send Jim a note just to make sure that we build an appropriate distribution list. That's great. So I'm going to share the screen. A couple of things happened last week. I've always been toying with the idea of doing some remote imaging. So I was kind of prompted by Karun's open house meeting last week, and they kind of featured a telescope service called Slooh. So I actually joined. So I'm going to just give you a quick overview of what I've encountered so far. It wasn't totally what I thought it was going to be, But then again, I'm not disappointed either. So Slooh, I'm assuming, means Slooh as in slewing. This started in 2003. The founder actually created this in an attempt to sort of unify people under one sky. He lost a friend during 9/11, and he wanted to do something in his friend's honor. So he developed this concept of a community of people that sort of shared a love for astronomy, but also allowed them a meeting place where they could do imaging and also participate in different things like that they call quests. So the quests are quite interesting. They're meant to be sort of instructional. So for instance, they actually have a quest which has something to do with the Messier Marathon. So basically, you can collect all the images over a night and then create your own kind of Messier poster of the images that actually you produced. So I think, Joe, you can sort of jump in anytime you want as well, because I noticed your name was there. So I don't know how much you've done with it yet, but I kind of went crazy a little bit and just kind of did as much as I could with it in the last couple of days. So the telescopes are actually located in 2 different areas. I think eventually there'll be 3 areas, but right now it's in Chile and in the Canary Islands. There's a total of 8 telescopes so far. One thing I did find out about remote observing is that just like locally, the weather doesn't always cooperate. And in addition, you can have sandstorms in the Canary Islands, which I never knew about, but apparently sand gets swept up from the Sahara Desert and ends up in the location. They're actually suffering from a lot of high humidity right now as well. So I've been using mostly the Chile telescopes. So there's 3 levels of access, and I would say it's pretty reasonably priced. Can't remember what the student price is, but I signed on as
Price
apprentice.
is US $50.
Oh, there you go. Thank you, Joe. Apprentice is $100, which is what I chose, and the astronomer's version is $300. Really high quality mounts. They're all Paramount MEs. Quite a selection of telescopes as well and cameras. But none of the cameras are lightweight in any stretch of the imagination. They are either the larger SBIG cameras or they're the Finger Lakes instruments. And they're just kind of like under 20K. So the price of the mount and the telescopes and the cameras is quite a hefty fee. Nothing that I would fork out my money for. So they have up to 20-inch telescopes. They're Dahlmann-Kirkham telescopes, quite nice, truss tube. They have one Teleview 85 refractor and a Takahashi 90, I think, that they have in 2 different.
They have a Celestron Edge or 2 as well.
Yes, they do. I was going to get to that too. There's 14-inch edges, and there's even a RASA, actually. I don't know how many people are familiar with the RASAs, but the RASAs actually mount the cameras at the front, because there's a set of elements. The light goes down to the mirror and then passes through some optics and then into the camera. So it's kind of like the FastStar, similar to the FastStar system, but optically a little bit different. Most of the cameras are monochrome. There's only one shot and one shot color, but they're all mostly monochrome with filters. Now, before everybody gets super excited, for those of us think of this as being really, really wonderful, it is actually quite good. The one thing that you may not expect is that they actually use imaging presets. So it's not totally configurable, but I think it's, I understand why they did it, because students actually, like even in grade school, actually operate this system. So it's very easy to do. I make it, I would say it's more like kind of an Apple product as opposed to a Linux product. So you definitely get that kind of a user interface that doesn't really require that you know too much.
Are you going to talk about missions?
Yes, I will do that as well. So
Okay, I'll
the
keep quiet then.
yeah, the FITS files are actually available as well with Apprentice and astronomer versions. So if you want to fiddle with them, you can. Now, I have yet to receive my FITS files. I'm not quite sure why. It might be because I'm on my trial right now, but I'm sort of investigating that as well. And there's higher levels of access that have more flexibility and access. And actually, Joe, since you wanted to talk, did you want to talk about the Quest? Did you get to use any of the Quests?
No, I haven't used the Quest yet, and
Okay.
it's something I need to investigate.
Yeah, so the Quests, I don't actually have a picture of them. The Quests are kind of task-specific kinds of things, like you learn about the sun, or you learn about nebula. I mean, there's a bunch of these things, and a lot of the starter
Like
ones
one
are
of the
really
quests for one of the upcoming quests, just to give you context, is the Messier Marathon.
exactly,
So that gives
exactly.
you an idea of what they are.
Yeah, so they actually make a product where you go and queue up all these images, and then you make your own Messier poster, basically. So quite a number of scopes, as I mentioned. It's quite a variety of scopes. They're all really high-end scopes. So I don't think there's any scope that you would be disappointed in at all. They're much better than most of our scopes. So there's the Dell Kirkham 17-inch that's in Chile. So you can see the Paramount mount as well. Should be familiar to anybody who's been to the VCO. So there's the array of telescopes. You can see the nature of them. We've got 14-inch edges. We've got the 17-inch Dell Kirkham. And they even have a lunar and planetary one running off of another 14-inch edge. So the Canary Islands ones, I haven't really had much of a chance to use. They've been really humid, and most of the time they've been closed, but occasionally we get chilly. So their premier one is the 20-inch one here. And then they've got a 17 as well. So between these two, they kind of cover off a fair bit. They
And
also have a deep.
they're adding another half-meter telescope to the mix as well. So
yeah, they're always they always seem to be adding, and I think they're going to be in the United Arab Emirates as well. But I think they've been held up by COVID. But I'm kind of looking forward to that one as well. Joe, did you go with Apprentice as well?
I did, yes.
Yeah,
I think the US $100, which is about 150 Canadian, is a good compromise. Just to evaluate the service over a year and see what we think of it.
Yeah, I'll comment a little bit about the queues in a second here, but I'm actually thinking about just bumping it up because it's kind of good for me because you know, we're not traveling right now, and I really wanted to get access to another part of the sky in the universe. So
I'm really enjoying having access to the Chilean skies, southern hemisphere. It's just
exactly
a real gift.
Yeah, exactly. And they even have a solar scope. They have a LUNT, double stack LUNT, which is kind of cool. But again, because of the humidity, we haven't had access to it. So this is M4, which I kind of grabbed, I think last night, I think. So this is near Antares, and I think this one was the Edge, the 14-inch Edge. And there's the Eagle. Now, this is really interesting. When I chose the Eagle, this is another thing about remote imaging. A lot of the cues that you pick up when you're actually under the sky, the same sky that you're imaging under, is you'll notice things like where the moon is. Now, with good planning, with planetarium software, you would know that as well. But I just picked the Eagle, and I didn't realize the moon was like, I don't know,
Right
like a
there.
degree away or something like that. So the top edge of the frame is actually got glare on it. I just trimmed it off. The other thing about these is they're all fixed exposures as well. So you're kind of expected to sort of stack multiple missions. So every mission, you can actually choose something very simple. You can just say, I want the Ego Nebula, and it picks a telescope for you. in the apprentice, you get one custom, which means you get to pick the telescope. And that's where you get the FITS files and you get your choice of exposure. Now, if you go up to the astronomer level, you can pick longer times. So they're actually not bad. Like this is just the stock 50-second exposure, which is, I would say, pretty good for just 50 seconds. But if you want, you can actually have multiple missions, and that would allow you to accumulate them, align them, and stack them. So this is one of Edda Karina. Now you can also piggyback off of other people's missions, and that's what I did. Excuse me, that's what I did here. Somebody was already looking at Edda Karina, so I just clicked on the little photo button, and I got my own copy of it. So it is a bit of a shared thing. If you want stuff to be exclusively yours, your interpretation is yours, but you always have to put the Slooh logo on the images to identify that it came from the Slooh system. Joe, did you want to say any more about Slooh? What was your experience? And I can chime in once we talk about some of the cues.
Yeah, I think you pretty well have covered it. The first thing that happens is the keeners, people like us, complain because we don't have complete control. But then we realize that we can't have complete control because it's a shared service, and there's, I don't know how many thousands of people or hundreds of, certainly dozens of active people every night using all this gear. So there have to be some rules, and the rules involve some compromises. But that said, it is an inexpensive service, and it really, I think, delivers on its promise, which the main thing is collaboration. I mean, go back to the reason for this thing being formed was for collaboration. And I don't know if you've dived into it at all, I haven't, but there's all these groups and clubs and this sort of thing that we need to get involved in eventually.
Yeah, so
I
I joined a few of the clubs. I joined a few of the clubs, Joe. Like I found the Nightscape one kind of interesting, just for my own purposes outside of the service. And
I mean, if enough people join from Victoria Centre, we could have a Victoria Centre RASC club.
We could.
You can form a club anytime you want.
Yeah. Actually, I should mention that there's a lot of private clubs at Slooh as well. So we could have a RASC Victoria kind of private club if we wanted to.
Also, you'll get a preview of what I'll mention to council and to the OBSTEC committee in the coming days, but I'm actually setting up a discussion with Slooh to explore the idea of using Victoria Centre's observatory as part of the Slooh system.
Oh,
so
that would be interesting.
It could, it's discussion stages only, but there's no secret to be kept here. Mm-hmm. It's just a discussion right now.
Yeah. Now I know I was going to talk to Lori about having excuse me, Slooh available for those nights when we don't have anything to show. Now, again, this is no secret. We're hoping to do some live astronomy broadcasting in the next couple of months. And if it happens to be cloudy, this is a great way to have something queued up that we could actually still see.
I agree. It's ideal because I think the problems with the weather in the Canary Islands illustrates it in spades, where having an alternate site and both being prime sites is very valuable. And in the case of public outreach, saying we don't have anything to show you really kind of falls flat. So
exactly.
Now having Slooh as a plan B is a good idea.
Yeah, I don't know exactly where we're at with the RASC robotic project, but I hope at some point it becomes as usable as this. This is quite mature. It's been around since 2003. So they really kind of had their act together, and they actually had educators actually produce the quests. So there's a lot of kind of design here. There's a lot of active learning design. They do it on purpose to sort of create that collaborative feel to the product. So I really like it for that as well.
Yeah, I'm quite excited about the educational value of Slooh. I mean, as you say, it's a core value of theirs. and they've done a lot of work. That's one of the reasons I want to talk to them about our participation, or proposed participation anyway.
Well, I guess we have the right equipment. We have an ME at least.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. So yeah, I hope that goes well for you. So yeah, so that's basically it. I did one other thing, which I'll mention. Oh, does anybody have any questions about Slooh? You can certainly Google it and find out more about it.
So when you use it, do you just get the chance to take a couple exposures, or can you set up an entire run? Or
So this is a good time to talk about the cues. When you create a mission, there's a couple of ways of doing it. At least when you're an apprentice or an astronomer level, you can actually just pick an object from what they call the Slooh 1000. So Slooh 1000 is kind of a curated set of objects which come from Messier, Caldwell, NGC, et cetera, et cetera. It's their curated set. And when I say curated, it means that often when you go and watch it live build up on the screen, like it'll send you email to tell you your mission's about to run. And then you go and log into Slooh, and then you bring up the telescope that you know you've been assigned to. And then Bob Berman from Astronomy Magazine starts to tell you about the object, which is it's kind of cool. At first you think that he's talking to you, but it's all canned stuff. But he talks about the object, and then you learn a little bit about it. And
very well done.
Yeah, very well done, very well done. And Bob is a great speaker. He's a really good speaker. Joe, I know in the past you've sort of sent us to a lot of Slooh events, but I just got caught up on Slooh, and I've never watched them to any great degree, but I actually really liked a lot of them. The one on the Christmas star was pretty good, and some of the older ones were good as well. Yep. So I'm glad the open house happened, because I mean, even though I knew about Slooh, I didn't really know about it in any great detail.
And
so
you know, the degree of control increases as you go. David's just talked about the basic levels right now.
Right, right. So I'm actually toying with the idea of going up to astronomer level. That's 300 a year rather than the 100 a year. But it allows you to have 5 customizable missions. Right now, I only have 1. So that allows me to sort of stack things up. So the thing with the cues is that you get to choose from a catalog. You can choose from the Slooh 1000. But then in auto mode, it just picks the telescope and it picks what is called the imaging preset. And usually it's a good choice, because they've made these choices because they're optimal for each of the objects. Now, if you want to do your own thing and you want to have cumulative files that you can stack, you can have a custom mission or an advanced mission. And that's where you can actually, again, you're still not getting to configure too much. You get kind of combos of presets. Brock, if you want to know more about it, you can actually go to the guides on the site. And if you can't get them, I'll send you a copy of the presets, and you can actually see what they're doing with it. But it's all good stuff. I think it's really designed so that nobody has to feel technically challenged when they get to the site. If they're just interested in astronomy, it'll just do it. And but there is a way. I talked to Paul about it. There is a way that if you're a little bit more adept at it and you wanted custom stuff, you can do that as well. It's not to the degree of a totally dedicated telescope. You can certainly try it out for 7 days. There's no obligation there. So if you want to just see how it feels and try it, I don't know. I enjoyed it. So the other thing that happened, yeah, I'm sure you do, Joe. I think you know, the ease with which you can just kind of create these missions, and then all of a sudden, you know, when you're doing something else, this message pops up. It's kind of cool. Like you think, oh, my stuff is coming up, right? So you just go to the site and then you watch it come up. And in fact, it even plays a little bit to the EAA experience, because you can actually watch it build up on the screen. So
And you can
that's
also
kinda neat.
see the all sky camera and the
Yes.
observatory camera. They've got cameras everywhere, so it's kind of neat that way.
So is
Yeah,
it like
Keep
live
you
stacking?
engaged. Yeah, it does live stacking. You don't get to stack yourself. You can run multiple images or multiple missions, all right, but then you can stack those later. But you'd
Yeah,
have to
and
do those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 missions. You'd
yeah,
have to use up your missions to do
yeah.
that.
I kind of wised up to the queues once I saw people stacking the same image. I mean, queuing up the same image.
Yeah.
And it's definitely the phrase "snooze, you lose" is very true here. You know, like you know, I was there and the observatories were just coming online because of the weather or the power outage. And I thought, oh, great. It just came on and I saw the message pop up. There were already like 20, 30 people in the queue. So, you know,
Shared
you got to
resource.
work fast. You have to work fast. So I thought, okay, if I picked a time deeper, farther down, closer to dawn. So this is my strategy, right? So I thought about it and I did that. And then I stacked 4 of the Ego Nebula. So I was able to do that, but I don't have the FITS files, so I really can't do a lot with them at this stage. Anyways, I'm looking forward to using it. It's better to do that than to be kind of skunked just about every night for the last couple of months.
Yeah, that's the reason I subscribe to it as well. It's dealing with a bit of my frustration.
So the other thing I did, and this is thanks to Sid. I don't know if Sid is on here, but
I don't think so, no.
yeah, Sid said, well, you know, David, that there's a seminar on Saturday on doing photometry with a digital SLR. So Sid and I have been talking about this for decades. You know, like he said, you know, David, you really should do photometry, do real science. And I keep saying, yeah, okay. And I thought about it and I thought, well, maybe this is the year that I do that. So today I actually joined the AAVSO. So I guess I'm kind of committed now. So I'm actually looking into doing some photometry. So if anybody else is interested, I'd sure like to know about you because maybe that's something we could do together in the center. Oh, you interested, Brock?
Yeah, Brock.
That'd be fun.
Oh, cool. Okay, so as I start sort of acquiring, maybe we need a photometry group.
Do we get a set of gratings or something for camera?
Oh, you know, that's the other thing I found out today. The photometric filters apparently are really in short supply. In fact, the people that produce them, like Astrodon, has produced them in the past, have decided they won't make them anymore. There is not enough demand, I guess. There's a lot of the people kind of bailing on this thing because it's a little bit esoteric, except for the real pro filters. I think they'll still be made, but it's not easy to get. I actually looked and I could see that there was a set made by Bader that were just under 1,000 US, and that's for I think 5 of the filters. But I want to learn a little bit more about it first. Apparently the filters have a limited lifespan. They deteriorate apparently. So you kind of buy them and then they're good for maybe 15 years, 10, 15 years or something. Maybe that's good enough for me. I don't know.
David, I used to do that back in the 80s on the 20-inch at UBEC, but we did photoelectric photometry, so we had a PMT.
Yeah, you know, Sid has one of those. He has one of these photometers actually designed for that. I can't remember the brand name of it, but
it's actually incredibly satisfying to get a light curve out of a single night. I worked with Russ Robin, Colin Scarf as a research assistant, and we looked at W Ursa Majoris stars, for example, and you could see them go through most of a cycle sometimes in one night.
Well, and you know, after attending the seminar and then watching a few of the AAVSO YouTube videos, the graphs and the number crunching kind of grabbed me, and I thought, oh, I need to do this.
Well, back in the olden days, you used to actually put the iris over the star, and so you get a bit of sky in there, and then you have to get a chunk of sky, and then you go to the comparison star, so you go between all 3 all night. So
yeah, I just started to read the handbooks, and there's so much really to know. I'm actually glad they did a version for digital SLRs because you don't even need filters there, right? They just rely on the Weir matrix on the sensor. Now you have to do a little bit more work. There's like you have to split up the Weir matrix, but anybody who has PixInsight can do that, or Maxim. So there is a way of doing it. Yeah, that's really cool.
Cool. So
actually, do let me know. Yeah,
David,
do let me
what
know
do
if
you
people are
actually,
interested. Sorry,
what
go
sorts
ahead.
of measurements are you doing? Are you like looking at spectra or looking at trying to measure redshift or?
I think I'm gonna. Well, it's variable stars, right? So I think I'm gonna.
Oh, okay.
They have like.
You're measuring the brightness change?
Yeah, that's the light curve thing. So I mean, a lot of them are things like eclipsing binaries and things like that. Things that would cause a drop in light. Betelgeuse was apparently a really favorite last year, right? In fact, Barbara Harris, who did the seminar, was talking about the reason why she was going to use a digital SLR for Betelgeuse was it's so bright. She couldn't really do it with her Finger Lakes CCD, so she used a camera instead.
Has anyone ever tried to measure parallax with a home scope? Or is that just completely impossible?
I don't know.
Trying to do like 6
They're-
months apart.
No, they're it's a thing. People do track the a few and they get pretty good results. It is an amateur astronomical thing that one can do.
Okay. Find the closest stars and give it a go.
Yeah, I might just make it part of EAA, but I think if it's worthwhile, we'll maybe spin up a separate group.
Yeah, I would think that would be worth considering because if there's enough people interested. But maybe we could move on at the moment just because it's
that's fine.
9
Thank you.
o'clock.
Thank you, Chris.
But thanks for sharing that. That's really great. Maybe we can you can come back to it and give us some updates as we move along. So I think that was just about all we had for tonight. Reg put a couple of things on the website. I don't know if you wanted to just mention those, Reg, or
I'll just share the screen briefly here, hopefully.
I'll talk to one of them as I shared that. I'm on the mailing list for the University of Arizona because I did their Mirror Lab tour, and they're going to try a virtual Messier marathon on Saturday. So Reg has posted the information there. So that's going to be based at Mount Lemmon Sky Center, which is near Tucson.
Okay, that looks like it might be really good, Chris, because they're going to have live streaming of the various images, the various Messier objects, and they're going to have somebody commenting on the characteristics of what they're looking at. So it could be pretty good. But you have to register for it, and if you click on the link there, hopefully it'll get you to a page that will allow you to link to it.
Yeah, and I believe it is free, but they are asking for donations.
I noticed that, yeah. So if it's not a beautiful weather here on Saturday for our own Messier activities, that would be an alternative. Now, the other thing is that Karun sent a message that a topic about cosmic dust. Doesn't sound very interesting, but if you've noticed some of Dan Posey's fabulous wide-angle view pictures of late, he's showing that the universe is a dirty place and there's all sorts of dust around. So it'd be kind of an interesting story that Dr. Gordon Walker has to tell, and the link is there for that. So just those are the two items, Chris, and I'll stop the share.
Great, thanks, Reg. And we'll see if we can get those photos that Dave shared from Edmonton maybe on there as well. That should be doable, I guess. We're there for prosperity there. Randy, as president, do you have any final words this evening?
I do not. I am looking forward to the first council meeting that I get to chair tomorrow. So I will see several of you there. And this has been just a fantastic Astro Cafe. There's such a variety and such enthusiasm.
And let's hope that with these some of these projects that are starting, I'm hoping they'll develop a lot of topics for us going forward. So so I think unless anybody has anything else for this evening, I think we can call it an evening. Just to remember, a reminder that in 2 weeks we'll have Alendria Broomhead joining us from Sky News Magazine. Thanks, Laurie, for arranging that for us. And so that will be on March 22nd. So that will be kind of like a monthly meeting. She'll talk a little bit, and then we can have some Q&A, and then other things that come up as well. So, and so we'll be looking for topics for next week. So please, if there's some clear skies this week and we gather some information and some photos and or observations, that would be great. Any final comments?
If it's clear Wednesday, I'll be at the cricket pitch.
Yeah, in Machosen. So
yeah, come out.
That is a good spot when it's
a big space. Lots of fresh air.
Yeah, the skies are great there.
I just want to say I just am so looking forward to maybe 6 or 8 months from now, and we can all get back together again. It'll be nice to see actually all of people rather than just your heads.
Yeah.
I wonder if we're going to have a Saanich fair this year.
Oh.
I don't think it's terribly likely at the moment, but I don't know if they've pulled the plug yet.
No. Don't know anything about
No,
that.
there's a lot of talk about September. There's a lot of talk about September. I wouldn't bank on too much before that. But,
no.
No. Who knows? It'll be nice to see everybody anyway.
Well, good news for my friend is my mom got her shot, so that's first one, so that's good. Anyways. Well, thanks again, everyone, for attending, and hopefully see you all next week. And let's hope we get some clear skies this week.
John.
Thank you.
John McDonald.
Yes, yes,
Did you
Chris.
see my little note to you?
I saw it.
Okay.
I sent one back. Thanks for the heads up.
Okay.